No one can tell anyone when they can or cannot work to produce value for themselves. Everyone has the right at all times to directly access an official database of available work. Future communities or advanced residential structures may be where we do the majority of our work. The goal will be to remain local and to do our work as close to home as possible. One reason being, in future shared scheduling and task-sharing programs, we will find that there is a person competent in the area of expertise required likely within the local vicinity already. With shared task alert programs, the person closest to the job or task might receive the task first, due to their proximity. We all have the right to work and to produce value in our own lives and in the lives of others, without the continual revetting of our profile. This means that we will tell the system when it is that we are working. When we decide to work, there is always work available to us. We are never kept away from the right to perform various jobs or tasks due to the continual revetting of our profiles. As long as we have the education and the merit, we should have access to all tasks and jobs as they appear local to our environment wherever we are. The only thing that should prevent us from performing a task would be either a low merit or trustworthiness level, or a low experience or educational level. Not having the ability to turn our attention to the betterment of our lives by being able to access the right to produce value locally is what produces crime. Someone might end up running with a gang and getting into trouble when denied access to the right at every age and from wherever they are to work or to produce value for themselves locally. It should be the responsibility of whatever form of government that exists in an area to provide or to allow the creation of local ongoing work that is available to everyone at all times within each community. We should never have to ask to do this work, and we should be able to fall back on this local accessible work at all times to produce value for ourselves without the continual revetting of our profile. By taking away, for example, the ability to access a large local garden that you have the right to work in at all times for spendable money, then they are creating the environment in which crimes committed over fiat currency exist. It should be a fundamental right for everyone to have the ability to produce value for themselves, local to their environment, without having to first go through the entirety of the public education system. Once they have achieved each building block in education to perform a task, they should have the right to complete those tasks for compensation. Nor should we have to have our profiles revetted through the job application process for each task we wish to complete or participate in. Our merit levels should be stored and automatically applied to any task or position we wish to pursue. Nor should we have to get in our automobiles and seek jobs behind mysterious corporate walls where we have to ask permission and have our profiles revetted again and again. Work and task completion should be anything with positive intention that even slightly benefits another and should be available everywhere at all times, and we should not have to ask to take on this work. We live in a stingy system of greed that doesn't want to give anything for anything. Whereas we live in a world of such potential abundance that it could literally be a fun and exciting game that everyone participates in based on their merit and effort that determines ease of access and the ability to easily acquire higher and more rewarding levels within the system. You should be able to independently access the system and all of its various functions, and you should be able to independently move yourself up through the various avenues of advancement within the system, all the way up through managerial and local leadership programs leading to the regional levels. At no point should you have to wait for anyone or anything to achieve higher levels of advancement. Advancement is entirely based upon what the individual achieves through their effort. In an abundance-based system, we should have the ability to declare a message of compassion through our collective works. We should be tossing homes together overnight and giving them to lucky contestants. We should be checking on each homeless person on the street and setting them up with their own room account and little local area of production. There is likely something they can do, and if their little operation falls apart, oh well, the whole world doesn't depend on them. The rest of it can become strong enough to the point where you can help them stand up again and again. Plus, I believe that if properly utilized, just our pee alone is of enough value to cover our basic survival costs. Consider local production kits like tiny greenhouses, for example, or large garage-sized 3D printers. Consider a community-level 3D printer or community greenhouses. Then an individual can tell the system how they can be useful. An individual can complete available tasks, or they can create the tasks they wish to fulfill. Some creditable tasks will not require any type of oversight or permission. Those could be local production operations on one's own property, for example. Other types of tasks would require approval potentially by submitting a request for a local voting sequence, such as if you wanted to build a local community greenhouse. If approved, new jobs would be created as sets of completable or ongoing tasks that can be claimed through the job mapping application. Have you seen the armies of old ladies at the slot machines at the casino? Or the increasing number of panhandlers, people literally begging for change on the street? What if instead of wasting their time at the casino or doing nothing productive, they could decide at any time to turn to their local work database of always available work, or a known local work area like a large public garden? The database of available jobs would contain far more than what we think of now as common jobs. This database would include things like cooking in your local structure or community, farming locally, providing emergency health care in a local emergency room, as a nutritionist for your community, and participating in entire new industries like new types of residential construction and new types of drone operation. New types of drones and new types of drone jobs can become available as work-from-home positions. I would like a position as an exploration drone operator. Other types of drones can work under the sea or for other specialty purposes. We should all have the right to earn credit by upholding universal law and by providing law enforcement services. After completing the required mentorship programs, and if we maintain a high level of merit in that field, then we should have the right to uphold universal law wherever we are. Whenever we are conducting law enforcement services and various other tasks would require that we log in as that role and connect with an oversight auditor or conductor of operations. Another type of law enforcement we can provide is detective work. Detective work includes crime scene auditing and recording and the ability for anyone to take on unsolved cases and solve them for credit. We need to create team humanity, the team that you are either on the side of or the side against. We all want to be on Team Humanity, as to be against Team Humanity is a terrifying thing. Human beings are incredibly intelligent, and we need to create a system in which we can all unite under a common principle such as universal law. As a detective, we can utilize, for example, the collaborative intelligence platform and work with others to solve a case. This could be a new case or an unsolved case. Everyone who contributes can be given credit for their level of contribution. The concept I'm portraying here is the 4chan detective agency. Not literally, but that is a good way to describe it. Have you ever seen when a group of chat forum chatters decide upon a common goal and then set out to achieve it? They can accomplish things collaboratively with terrifying efficiency. This is untapped human potential that we should utilize. For example, the 4chan detective agency has shown examples of locating people or solving puzzles with collective reasoning that is quite impressive. They will use the geometry of the stars in the sky in conjunction with maps in relation to the drip rate of a leaky faucet to pinpoint the exact location of a thing they are looking for. Tools should be provided to employ all of these people to task completion projects for credit. These think tank instances of voting sequences through collaborative voting technologies can vastly enhance our achievement capability in various fields. It is not necessary to have an all-or-nothing approach with each person for every single task, meaning an old lady can choose to do a few tasks without having to be employed full-time, for example. She could choose to maybe bake pies for a few hours every few days or so. Or she could choose to do some local community beautification and get paid for it. She could spend several months knitting a blanket and turn it into a nearby collection and distribution center where it is bidded off for her and she is given the proceeds. It is a matter of the system allowing more avenues of creditable contribution by being able to more effectively recognize and measure those contributions. Let's say a person who is panhandling presently has no skills and is drugged out. They could start with some basic contribution work. We all have the ability to move stuff around, so they could essentially employ themselves by moving stuff that needs to be moved. Picking up garbage is an obvious example, and they could receive compensation for picking things up and moving them around. Having access to one's own shelter is the #1 way to resist temptations and piece oneself back together. Having access to level 1 housing rights at all times will help reduce the number of people who fall prey to substance abuse just to get through a night of being in a place that they don't want to be. From their level 1 room, they then have access to a database of available work that is available to them specifically at that time, local to their environment. Educational courses that are the components required to access other tasks and jobs should also always be available. I suggest the opposite of what you do now in that you should pay the student when they complete a course, instead of making the student pay for the course as incentive to produce more competent members of the workforce. All debts will be paid in gruel paste and receipts. We will not use fiat currencies to pay for things or to pay back debt. We will make all payments in gruel paste and receipts. Gruel paste is just a funny descriptive for tangible excess resources many times refined into a more usable form, like a paste. Mashed potatoes and jam are examples of the gruel paste. Everything has the potential to either be left as is or refined down into various levels of consistency, down to the resin version of a thing to find what it can be used for. This gruel paste at various levels of refinement is used instead of fiat currency, along with receipts, which are recipes for how to develop certain things on one's own. Receipts are instructions on how to copy and reproduce various processes. Everything should be utilized to the fullest extent possible. Is all of the food produced presently being used? I heard something like half of all the food produced in grocery stores and restaurants is thrown away daily. We should instead have sophisticated methods of using resources at every stage of freshness. Certain things can be jamified and made to last a very long time as a type of insurance. Things can become cheaper as they get older until they are not consumable as food, in which case each thing can be refined further or used for various things. In a collaborative system, we could reimagine how we utilize the resources available to us. One method of localizing production that would increase efficiency and reduce our need for additional transportation and automobiles would be the ability to make anything anywhere. In some cases, like fast food, a single utility structure might be able to make everything on every menu from every fast food chain. Many of the ingredients they use are the same, and it is just the recipes that change. A single utility structure could have all of the ingredients needed to make everything from every chain, as well as allowing people to participate in new and fun ways. We could have local to regional cooking contests, and the top few winners could have their recipe made available either only locally to attract visitors to tourist communities, for example, or regionally, maybe only until the next competition, or annually, or perhaps the top 20 recipes are available in an area, and there is an annual competition and the top 20 winners' recipes would be available. They could keep their recipes anonymous and only allow machines to recreate them, or they could give their recipes out and receive credit for it, and still receive credit whenever it is used. There could potentially be an ongoing database, and you could select whatever you wanted from thousands of recipes based upon what ingredients are available at that time, And each time a recipe is selected, the person who came up with and submitted the recipe is given spendable credit. Everything we do should be crowdsource fundable. Each completed task should be associated with a unique identifier that can be used to send additional credit directly to whoever completed the task. It's like a simplified method of being able to give and receive credit. Our lives should be fun instead of so hard up like this. We should be able to make more residual income than we need, and then be able to direct portions of that to our network to create geometric mandalas of support. You could, for example, discover people you want to support for whatever reason and give them one-time or ongoing donations. For example, they keep showing me images of people with missing limbs saying it's my birthday, asking for a like. We should be able to easily give them more than a like. We should be able to easily send them spendable credit. From our decision to send them our energy for them to use as they choose. We could then without hassle make one-time or ongoing donations to people of our choice through some official and easy-to-use method of giving credit. I regularly see animal rescue videos like these. We should be able to give more than a thumbs up to the video creator. We should be able to tell a program that we want to send the person who did the deed themselves credit either one time or ongoing, and how much we want to send them, and the program should take care of it without us even having to know their names or go through any lengthy process. It should be a simple swipe, as all the effort required to send anyone credit for anything. All completable tasks should have a minimum transaction of at least 1 credit. The amount of a product can be brought up to equal 1 credit's worth for the sake of simplification. Sweet standardization. And we can assume that all services have a value of at least 1 credit to cover unmeasured time and effort. Each completable task will also have the ability to receive automatic crowdsourcing, meaning just like the ability to send someone of your choosing credit with ease, all completable tasks will also be crowdsource fundable. So your job, or the completed task itself, or you as an individual because it is your birthday, or for whatever reason it should be a simple process for us to show our appreciation to each other, with the ability to send credit to anyone for any reason, with the aid of programs to make it possible. So a job could be a completable task which when finished is credited at a certain rate, or a job could consist of completable hours where each hour is a completable task credited at a certain rate. Both the person completing the tasks and the tasks themselves can be credited for directly through the completion of the task and also through the ability for automatic crowdsourcing for each person or task. Depending on the task type, this crowdsourcing can begin before, during, or after task completion. Crediting a completed task itself would send the credit to the person or persons who completed the task. We can choose to give credit to task tags or individuals publicly or anonymously. We would then be able to show our appreciation to artists, performers, architects, heroes, or people who accomplish certain tasks without having to know their name or buy a product from them. This could be another way that we can share appreciation and support for one another directly.